Hello guys, Charles here and welcome back to my channel. Now something I get asked quite regularly about is the 7-string guitar and voicings for the 7-string guitar in particular. Now there's a reason I haven't really discussed this much on the channel so far. In fact, two reasons. The first is, of course, not everyone has a 7-string guitar, so I don't want to make too much content that alienates people. However, I'm sure people with 6-string guitars are still perhaps interested in how this stuff works on the 7-string guitar as well. And the second reason is that when I first got this 7-string guitar, which was about 2¼ years ago, something like that, I decided that I didn't want to force 7-string voicings out of the instrument. I wanted it to be an organic process where I would actually learn to hear these voicings and then have the means to play them. And that's taken me quite a long time, actually. I haven't intentionally practiced any 7-string voicings, and in fact, when I did originally, I couldn't remember them because they weren't fitting into the framework of the other chords. So I didn't want to just suddenly become a 7-string player. For a long time, I viewed it as a 6-string instrument with a spare string at the top. And now, 2¼ years in, I'm starting to organically play these voicings. So without further ado, let's go through a couple of examples of each type of chord, and hopefully you can find some of these useful for your playing as well. So let's start with a minor 7 chord. This is quite an easy one to use, and all I'm doing here is playing the root. Let's do E minor 7. Root on the low B string, which is the 5th fret. Then skipping out 2 strings, and I'm going to play this G major triad on the D, G and B strings. So fret 5, 4 and 3 on strings 4, 3 and 2. And I'm going to play that over this low E note. Gives me that lovely sound. That's a really solid sounding minor 7 chord. Now that comes from this voicing here, which is a lot harder to play. But it's exactly the same thing with the E note on the 7th fret of the A string. But we're just putting that down the octave. So taking a voicing that you already know, obviously like I said, this is a pretty uncommon voicing, not very guitar friendly, that one. But we can take a chord that's not very guitar friendly, or one that is, and drop the note from the A string down an octave to the low B string. So that's a voicing that I use a lot. Now when you invert a minor 7 chord, you get a major 6 chord. So this is a major chord that I use a lot. And we'll stick to that sound world, so let's use G major 6. To get this, I'm using the fret 8 of the low B string. And then on the D, G and B string, I'm going 9, 7, 5. This nice cluster here. And the great thing about these two is you can slide between these two very comfortably. Works really nicely. So that's E minor 7 to the first inversion of E minor 7, which is G6. So I don't have a different approach for generating chords on the 7th string. It's just these same chord rotations, which I've talked about a lot on this channel, and you can check out some more examples up here. Now, if I want to turn that G6 into a G major 7, I simply need to change the note that's on this top B string. So I've got here my G6. And this 5th fret that's currently on the top B string is going to move up to the 7th fret, and it's easier to change our fingers to do this. So we've got 8 on the low B string, 9 on the D string, and then I can bar 7 and 7 on the G and B string. And if I want, I can continue that bar on the top E string. Lovely sound. So that's a lovely major 7 voicing. So what about a minor 6 voicing, which is the same as a minor 7 flat 5 enharmonic equivalent? So we can take this original minor 7 shape that we played and simply drop this top note down a semitone, down a fret. So that's E minor 6. And I can bar that top note onto the top E string to give me an F sharp. So that's like an E minor 6, 9, very James Bondy sounding. Very cool chord. So E minor 6 is the same as C sharp minor 7 flat 5, and a really nice voicing for that, which uses a couple of open strings, is down here. Fret 2 on the low B string for my root C sharp, fret 2 on the D string for my third, or minor third E, and then the open G and B string, and that's a root position minor 7 flat 5 chord. We could play that elsewhere on the guitar. I could put it up the octave up here. I don't tend to use the low B string up in this area. I generally only use it probably up to a G or an A, maybe. I don't really see the point in using it beyond that, but occasionally I'll add it in. But I can do that voicing elsewhere. There's a G minor 7 flat 5. And finally, let's look at some dominant chords. So some nice dominant voicings that I use. So here's a bog standard 7 chord. So I just play that as a 3-note chord. 5th fret on the B string, 6th fret on the D string, and the 7th, which is fret 7 on the G string. Gives you a nice dominant voicing you can slide around. Now, it's not got a 5th in it. There's no 5th in that. If you want to, you can add it on the low E string. You can just add, if I go back to this 5th fret here in E, we can get a B on the 7th fret of the E string. Nice, but it can take up a lot of space, that one. It's quite woofy, so only in certain contexts. And probably one of my favourite voicings that I use all the time is just an extension of that, which is adding the sharp 9, which is the Hendrix chord. And that's simply the 5th fret on the B string again, so that's my root E, my 3rd on the 6th fret of the D string, my 7th on the 7th fret of the G string, and my sharp 9, F double sharp up here, which looks like a G, on the 8th fret of the B string. Lovely sound. So there's a few nice voicings to hopefully get you started on the 7 string. I really do suggest that you take the kind of organic approach to learning the 7 string, which is not worrying about it too much, just expanding your 6 string playing, and hopefully eventually it'll expand so much that it incorporates that 7th string as well. But use the 7th string sparingly at first, because it can be a bit overwhelming, overbearing. Maybe limit yourself to only using it for the lowest 5 notes here from B to an E flat, when you kind of have to use it if you want those notes on a standard tuned instrument. So just let it happen organically and slowly, because otherwise the voice leading won't be right. When you're adding in these voicings just because you saw them in a YouTube video, they have to fit around the other chords you were using. Otherwise it can just seem a bit random and a bit jarring, to be honest. If you found that one useful, please do give this video a like, subscribe, ding that notification bell, and share with any of your friends who may have just treated themselves to a lovely 7-string guitar. And as always, I hope you're doing very well, getting plenty of practice in, and I very much look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers!
Roll up, let me embed a story you'll never forget. A drip, drip, but drowning in debt now. You can't buy your way out, and I heard you find it difficult to cope. Well, here by this bottle full of hope, and